Walk down a tourist street in Thailand now, and you'll notice the shop staff don't wait inside anymore. They come out, stand on the walkway, call to you as you pass, sometimes walk a few steps alongside you, steering you toward the door. And you know how that feels. It's in my comments every single day. Pushy, relentless. Thailand's become transactional. I've said it myself in 2 videos on this channel. Then Thai media went to Pattaya and asked the vendors why they'd started doing it. And the answer was that nobody's walking in anymore. Waiting for customers doesn't work now. So they go out and get them. The shop owners say it comes from necessity, not choice, which turns the whole thing inside out. The thing tourists complain about most, that constant sense of being sold to, isn't Thailand getting greedy. It's Thailand being empty. Same street, 2 sides of the same glass. Now, I've made 2 videos about Thailand losing tourists, and both times I was working from arrival figures and comments from foreigners, looking in from outside. This time I read what Thai people are saying. Their newspapers, their bank analysts, their tourism federations, their business owners, on the record by name. And they're not defending it. One of them says Thailand got complacent. A national newspaper called something Thailand does to foreigners every single day sneaky and insulting. So this isn't me having a go anymore. And near the end of this, there's a moment that genuinely stopped me where a Thai tourism figure in public named a documentary as part of the problem. It was called Dark Side of Thailand. I'll come back to that. Number 1, the vendors who got pushy on purpose. Let's stay with that first one because I think it's the most important thing in this entire video and almost nobody's connected it up. Here's what's actually being described. In Pattaya, in the busiest streets, the ones with the massage parlors and the bars and the shops lined up along the walkways, the staff have started coming outside, standing at the front, calling out, and in some cases, walking a few steps alongside people to guide them in. Reactions from tourists, as you'd imagine, have been mixed. That's putting it politely. If you've been on the receiving end of it on a hot afternoon when you just want to get to the end of the road, mixed isn't the word you'd use. But the reporting didn't stop at the tourist reaction. It went and asked the shop owners. And what they said is that spontaneous walk-in trade, people just wandering in off the street, has fallen off badly. The old approach of waiting for customers to come to you doesn't work anymore. So being visible and engaging directly has become essential just to make enough money that day. Not to grow the business, not to hit a target, to make enough that day. And I want to be honest about my own reaction to that because it wasn't what I expected. My first instinct reading it was still irritation. Well, that's not my problem, is it? I'm on holiday. And then I thought about it for about 10 seconds longer and felt a bit rotten. Because think about what that job actually is now. You've got a shop, you've got rent, which hasn't gone down, you've got electricity, which has gone up, and the street outside, which used to carry a river of people, is carrying a trickle. So every single person who walks past is now a decision. Do I say something or do I let this one go? That's a horrible way to spend a day. And here's the bit that reframed the whole thing for me. Every complaint in my comments about Thailand feeling transactional, feeling relentless, feeling like everyone wants something from you, every one of those is describing the effect. This is the cause. The pushiness isn't a country that got greedy. It's a country that got quiet and the people in it are scrambling. Now, does that make it a nicer experience for you as a visitor? No, not remotely. You're still going to walk down that street and feel got at, and you're still going to come home and tell people Thailand's changed. Both things are true at once. That's the uncomfortable bit. The visitor isn't wrong, and neither is the vendor. Number 2, Thailand became complacent. Right. That's the street level. Now let's go a lot higher up. Siam Commercial Bank is one of the biggest banks in Thailand. It has an economic research arm, the Economic Intelligence Center, and one of their senior analysts, Dr. Kamanmarn Jenglam, sat on a public roundtable about the state of Thai tourism. And the word she used was complacent. Her point was that after the huge growth surge of 2024, when Thailand was back on top, arrivals were roaring, everybody was celebrating, the country became complacent about its position as number 1 in Asia. Now, I want you to appreciate what that is. That's not a foreign YouTuber with a channel called Dark Side of Tourism. That's not a bloke in the comments who had a bad time in Phuket. That is a senior analyst at a major Thai bank in public saying her own country got lazy about the thing that pays 1/10 of its bills. And honestly, I think she's right. And I think it explains more than any other single sentence I've read while making these 3 videos, because complacency is a very specific failure. It isn't malice and it isn't stupidity. It's what happens when something has worked for so long that you stop asking why. Thailand had 30 years of people just turning up. 3 decades where the tourists were a fact of life, like the weather. You didn't have to compete for them. You didn't have to be the best value in the region because you were the region. And when that's your reality for that long, you stop noticing that the guy next door has quietly opened a very good restaurant, which is more or less exactly what Vietnam did. Number three, the newspaper that investigated its own country. Here's the one I genuinely didn't expect to find. The Bangkok Post is one of Thailand's main English language newspapers, national, long established, not an angry blog. And they ran a series called Why Bangkok, an investigative series looking at problems in their own city and country. Episode 2 was about dual pricing. They took what they described as one of tourism's most persistent grievances, the fact that foreigners get charged more, sometimes 10 times more, at attractions across Thailand. And they turned the lens on it properly. They set it against the fact that 2025 saw arrivals fall over 7%. And they framed it with a line I think is exactly right. While no single factor explains the drop, the question of whether tourists feel fairly treated is one the industry cannot afford to ignore. They were fair about it too. They pointed out that Thailand isn't unique. The Taj Mahal does it, Petra does it. Plenty of places charge foreigners more and call it a maintenance contribution. But the Post has also, in its own pages, described the specific practice of hiding the local price by writing it in Thai numerals, numbers most foreigners can't read, as sneaky and insulting. Sneaky and insulting. In a Thai national newspaper about Thailand. And I'll be straight with you. I couldn't have written that line in this video. If I'd said Thailand's dual pricing signs were sneaky and insulting, half my comments would be telling me I'm an entitled Farang who doesn't understand the culture. And some of them would have a point because who am I? But that's the Bangkok Post. That's the difference this video makes. The criticism isn't coming from outside anymore. If you're finding this interesting so far, hit the like button. It genuinely helps this reach people and it's free. There's plenty more. Number 4, the Thai woman arguing that expats should pay the Thai price. And it goes further than a newspaper. In that same Bangkok Post reporting, a Thai travel agency director called Pawarin Ramawong made an argument that, honestly, I've only ever heard from foreigners. Her point was about expats, people who've lived in Thailand for years, worked there, paid Thai tax the whole time, and who are still charged the foreigner rate based on appearance. And her line was this: expats put money into the economy just like locals do. If you make them feel like locals when it comes to pricing, they'll be more comfortable spending money in the country. Now, I want to sit on that for a second because there's a version of this argument that's just moaning, and this isn't it. She's not making a fairness argument. She's making a business argument. Her case is that treating a 20-year resident as a tourist at the ticket booth is bad commercially because it makes him feel like an outsider, and people who feel like outsiders spend less. And her bigger concern wasn't even the price. It was the transparency. Her words were that the core issue is communication, like being upfront and clear from the start about what a place costs and who pays what. If visitors can see where the money actually goes, clean toilets, decent signs, somewhere maintained, they'll feel it was worth it, which I think is completely correct. And it's the thing that would fix 90% of the resentment overnight. Nobody really minds paying more. People mind finding out. There's a version of Thailand where every ticket booth has both prices and numbers everyone can read, and a line underneath explaining what the difference funds. And I bet money the complaints would drop through the floor. Because at that point, it's a policy you can disagree with rather than a thing that was done to you quietly. That's a Thai travel agent's argument, by the way, not mine. Number 5, the man who can tell you the exact week it fell apart. Right? Numbers, but through the people saying them. Thanat Supornsahasrungsi is the president of the Association of Chonburi Tourism Federation. Chonburi is the province Pattaya sits in. So this is the man who represents the businesses in the city I've made an entire video about. And what he said is that the situation deteriorated rapidly like after Songkran. Songkran is the water festival in April. It's the biggest week in the Thai tourism calendar. And for a place like Pattaya, it's the money you carry into the quiet months. This year, it didn't carry. He's describing a specific moment where the floor gave way, not a gradual slide, a point on the calendar where they expected the usual lift and it didn't come. And the numbers behind him back it up. One local tourism association has claimed a 20 to 30% drop in tourists, with some hotels down at 15% occupancy. Broader industry data for May put Pattaya at 30 to 40% against a normal low season benchmark of 60 to 70. So even the conservative number is roughly half of what a bad month is supposed to look like. I made a whole video on this, so I won't do the maths again. But the thing I want you to notice here is who's saying it. Because when tourists say a place is dead, it's an impression. It's one street on one Tuesday. When the president of the Regional Tourism Federation says it, that's the industry's own representative putting his name to it in public. Number 6, the policy that emptied their own hotels. And here's where it gets genuinely awkward for Thailand, because part of this was self-inflicted. When Thanet was asked what's driving the collapse in Pattaya, he listed 3 things. The slowdown in long-haul markets, that's Europe, and I've covered it. Visitors spending less when they do come, also covered. And widespread work from home policies that canceled corporate meetings and seminars. That last one stopped me. Because Pattaya hotels don't just run on holidaymakers. A big slice of their occupancy in the quiet months comes from domestic business travel. Thai companies and government departments running conferences, training weeks, team seminars, book out 40 rooms, fill the function suite, 3 nights, done. It's not glamorous, and it's absolutely the difference between surviving low season and not. Work from home killed it. So while everybody's arguing about Chinese tourists and European airfares and whether Vietnam's cheaper, a chunk of the hole in Pattaya's hotels was made by Thailand's own domestic policy on office attendance. I find that genuinely fascinating and a bit grim because you can't lobby a foreign airline into flying more routes. But this one was in the room. This was a decision made in Bangkok that emptied hotel rooms in Chiang Mai. And I bet nobody in the meeting where it was decided gave that a moment's thought. Number 7, the businesses that can't pay their loans back. Now the part that doesn't get fixed when the tourists come back. Adith Charatananon is the Honorary Secretary General of the Association of Thai Travel Agents. Again, an industry body, again on the record. And he's criticized the government directly for lacking clear policies to deal with the debt burden facing small and medium-sized operators. Here's what he actually described. Small and medium businesses make up most of Thai tourism. Not the big chains, like the family hotel, the tour operator with 6 vans, the dive shop, the restaurant. And a lot of them have now become what the finance world calls non-performing borrowers, which is a very polite way of saying they've stopped being able to pay back their loans. They can't expand. They can't invest. They're being hit by weak demand, and they're carrying debt from the years when everyone assumed this would keep going up. And I want to explain why that matters more than any arrivals figure, because this is the bit people miss. If tourism drops for a year and then recovers, that's a bad year. Painful, survivable. But if a business takes on debt to get through the bad year and then can't service that debt, the recovery doesn't save it. The tourists come back and the business is already gone, or it's still standing but hollowed out. No money for maintenance, no money for staff, no money to be any good. That's how a downturn becomes permanent damage. And his verdict on the government's response, a co-payment subsidy scheme, was that it isn't going to be enough. His argument was that people can afford less with the same money now because energy costs have driven up the price of everything. And a half-price shopping scheme doesn't touch a debt problem. He's asking for debt resolution and stable commodity prices. They're not asking for tourists anymore. They're asking to survive until the tourists come back. Number 8, the hotels that surprise themselves. The quick one, but it tells you something. The Bank of Thailand and the Thai Hotels Association ran a joint survey of 148 hotels across the country. And the finding was that the vast majority saw a bigger drop in June bookings than their own internal models had predicted. That's the detail I like. These are professionals. They run hotels for a living. They've been through low seasons before. They build forecasts. And their forecasts, which already assumed things would be bad, were too optimistic. July showed a small uptick, but the read was that it's nowhere near enough to make up the losses. And the consensus among the business owners in that survey was that this could carry on for months. So when you hear an industry say, we didn't see this coming, it usually means they were being polite. This time it means their spreadsheets were wrong. Number 9, what they've actually asked the government for. Right. And this is the one where I want you to just listen to the list. Because when an industry gets frightened, you can tell from what it starts asking for. The Thai tourism sector has been requesting airfare subsidies, support for major events, revival of domestic travel incentive schemes, meeting allowances to try and claw back some of those canceled corporate seminars, and free public broadcasts of the World Cup. I'm going to say that again because when I first read it, I assumed I'd misunderstood. Tourism operators asked the government to televise football matches free in public so that people would have a reason to sit in a bar and buy a drink. That's the ask. Now, is it a bad idea? No, actually, It'd probably work a bit. Big screens, people out, a few beers sold. Fine. But nobody asks for that in a normal quiet season. You ask for that when you're staring at empty tables in June and you've run out of ideas that cost nothing. That's not a strategy. That's a plea. Genuine question for the comments here. And I want to know what you think. If you owned a bar in Pattaya right now, what would you actually be asking for? Because I'm not sure I'd have a better idea than the football. Number 10, 3 organizations, 1 meeting. And here's how serious it got. In a meeting with the tourism and sports minister, 3 separate bodies turned up together: the mayor of Pattaya City, the Association of Chonburi Tourism Federation, and the Eastern chapter of the Thai Hotels Association. The city, the region's tourism body, and the hotel industry in the same room at the same time with the same message, which was, without government help, this low season will be devastating. I think the format of that matters as much as the content, because normally these bodies lobby separately. They've got different interests. The hotels want one thing, the city wants another, the federation's somewhere in the middle. That's just how it works. When all 3 walk into a minister's office together, that's not lobbying. That's an alarm. And the warning underneath it was blunt. Without swift intervention, more businesses face closure or layoffs. Layoffs. Which brings us back to where the video started, because the person losing that job is the one standing on the walkway in Pattaya trying to get you to come into the shop. Number 11, the national airline making it harder to get there. And one last thing, because this is almost too on the nose. While all of the above is happening, while the industry is begging for airfare subsidies to get people into the country, Thai Airways has been raising fuel surcharges by nearly 100%. The national carrier, making it substantially more expensive to fly to Thailand. In the same season, the tourism industry is on its knees asking the government to make flights cheaper. Now, in fairness, that's not malice. And I don't think it's stupidity either. Fuel costs went up, and an airline that doesn't pass those on stops being an airline. There's a reason. But step back and look at the shape of it. You've got a country whose tourism industry is publicly asking for airfare subsidies, whose own flag carrier is simultaneously doubling a surcharge on the price of getting there, and whose government's own work from home policy has emptied the hotels that would otherwise be full of Thai conference delegates. Nobody's doing anything wrong. Every one of those decisions makes sense on its own. They just all point the same way, right? I said I'd come back to this. At a roundtable discussion about the future of Thai tourism, a senior figure in the industry was talking about the damage done by negative perceptions spreading on social media. And she gave an example. She named a documentary. It was called Dark Side of Thailand. This channel is called Dark Side of Tourism. So let's have the awkward conversation, because I'd rather have it than pretend I didn't notice. Am I part of the problem? Genuinely, I've now made 3 videos about Thailand losing tourists. They've been watched a lot. And if you're a Thai hotel owner in Pattaya, staring at a 15% occupancy rate, some bloke on YouTube making content out of your worst year is probably not what you were hoping for. I've thought about that. And here's where I've landed. Everything in this video came from Thai sources. A Thai bank's analyst saying the country got complacent. A Thai newspaper calling a Thai practice sneaky and insulting. A Thai travel agent arguing foreigners are being treated badly. A Thai Federation president naming the week it collapsed. A Thai industry association saying its members can't repay their loans. I didn't uncover any of that. It was already published in Thailand by Thai people in public. All I did was put it in one place in English for an audience that would otherwise never see it. And that same analyst made a second point that I think is the honest answer. She said that when travelers who'd had good experiences shared them online, it helped counter the negative stuff, which is exactly right. The response to a bad story isn't silence, it's a better story. So no, I don't think the videos are the problem. I think the problem is a 15% occupancy rate, a business that can't pay its loan, a shop owner standing on a walkway in the heat, hoping somebody makes eye contact. And I'd be making a much worse channel if I pretended that wasn't happening, because it's uncomfortable. But I'll tell you what would genuinely change my mind: if Thailand fixes this, if the signs get honest, if the scams get cleared out, if it stops feeling transactional, I will absolutely make that video. Gladly. That's a better story than this one, and I'd rather be telling it. Until then, I'm just repeating what their own people are already saying. So tell me in the comments, do you think this kind of video hurts Thailand, or does Thailand need to hear it? Because I read every single one, and I genuinely don't think there's one right answer. And if you've been there this year, has it felt emptier to you?